You've been there, right? I mean, you pour in countless hours studying.
Mm,
Maybe you wave goodbye to your social life, your hobbies. You feel that knot of stress, that anxiety. You
yeah.
tell yourself, okay, this time it'll pay off. Only to get that exam back, and the grade is, well, it's just a gut punch.
Oh, absolutely. It's
And it
crushing.
can feel like the whole system is rigged, you know?
Hmm.
Like it's only for people with high IQs or who are just natural test takers.
Right.
And you kind of spiral into this confidence-crushing cycle. And honestly, you start thinking about ditching academics for, well, frankly, anything more enjoyable.
It's a completely shared struggle, and
Yeah.
those feelings are so, so valid. Modern education is harder, it's more competitive,
Definitely.
and the pressures students face today, they're often really underestimated by people outside the system.
Absolutely. But what if? What if there's a way to break that cycle? To not just survive, but actually thrive
Yeah.
academically and, personally. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the journey of Jun Yuh, a biomedical engineering student who hit those exact frustrations,
Right.
but then engineered this thing called a learning system. And this wasn't just about scraping by. This system apparently let them get top grades while also having time for a social life, fitness, hobbies. They even launched a business.
Wow. Okay. That's the dream, isn't it?
Exactly. So our mission here is
Oh.
to unpack this four-stage learning system, look at the insights it offers, and really cut through the noise to show you how you might be able to, well, have it all.
Sounds fascinating. Where do we start?
So before we jump into the practical stages, the nuts and bolts,
Hmm?
I'm curious, what's the core idea, the fundamental shift in thinking that makes this whole thing work?
Well, what's really interesting here, the foundation. It's truly about how you engage with knowledge.
Okay.
Jun Yuh realized, it seems, that just consuming information, passively taking it in, it isn't enough. The source mentions higher order thinking.
Right, I've heard that term.
Yeah, and the framework people often use for this is Bloom's taxonomy. It's
Yeah.
kind of a backbone in education.
Hmm.
It frames knowledge mastery as way beyond just memorization. You start with remembering, like just spitting back the photosynthesis equation.
Got it. Basic recall.
Exactly. Then maybe explaining the roles of chloroplasts, for instance. But the higher tiers, that's where university assessments really live.
For
Like
sure.
applying, predicting how temperature might affect photosynthesis, or analyzing, comparing photosynthesis and cellular respiration, and even maybe designing an educational presentation about it.
Okay, so it's levels of depth.
Precisely.
Fair.
And relying only on what they call cued recall, like simple flashcards for isolated facts, that only hits those bottom tiers.
Oh, I see.
And that's why students struggle, especially in really high-stakes fields, think medicine or engineering, where just a shallow understanding, well, it can have pretty severe consequences.
That makes total sense for understanding the goal. But if higher order thinking is the aim, what does this system say about the study methods most of us, grew up with? Like highlighting texts or just rereading notes over and over?
Right, and this is where some fascinating research comes in by Karpikett and Bauernschmidt. It really challenges that conventional wisdom.
How so?
They looked at encoding versus retrieval practice. See, we've mostly been taught that learning happens during encoding, the act of taking information in, like when you're highlighting or rereading.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
But their experiments compared things like elaborative encoding concept mapping while looking at the text against retrieval practice, where students had to actively recall information, like on a blank piece of paper.
Okay. And the results?
The surprising finding was that retrieval practice consistently outperformed the encoding methods, like significantly.
Really? Just trying to remember stuff worked better.
Yeah. It showed that actively pulling information out of your brain isn't just a way to check what you know.
Hmm.
It's a powerful act of learning itself. It strengthens those neural connections much more effectively than just passively reviewing.
Wow. Okay, so what does this mean for you listening?
Well, it means the way you might have always been taught to study could actually be working against your brain's natural learning process.
So it's not about passively consuming.
Exactly. It's about actively engaging. That's the key to really embedding knowledge deep into your long-term memory. Learning happens in your brain, not just on the paper. And your notes. They aren't supposed to be a perfect transcript. They're a tool for active learning.
That leads us perfectly into the learning system itself then. It's built around four specific stages, right?
Ye-
Applied once per topic, not just per class.
That's right. And the beauty of doing it per topic, organizing everything into one notebook or system, is you create this incredibly personalized resource. It's filled with cues you specifically created.
Which makes review way more efficient later on, I imagine.
Exactly. Super efficient and effective because it's tailored to how you think.
Okay, so let's walk through them. Stage 1, priming. This happens before class.
Yes, before any class is on that topic. It involves proactively finding questions about the upcoming material.
Where do you find these questions?
Your syllabus, the textbook, maybe even past exam papers if you can get them.
Hmm.
And then, this is crucial, you make a genuine effort to answer those questions beforehand.
Even if you don't know the answers yet.
Especially if you don't know. That's kind of the point. See, those high-performing students, like Jun Yuh, they often aren't hearing this stuff for the first time in the lecture hall.
Oh, they've primed themselves.
Exactly. This pre-engagement, it keeps you more alert in class, more curious. You can spot gaps in your own understanding more easily, pick up on subtle links.
Okay.
And you also benefit from something called the hypercorrection effect. Basically, you learn and remember corrections better if you got the answer wrong initially compared to if you just got it right the first time.
Huh. Interesting. So getting it wrong helps you learn it better later.
In a way, yes. The source also mentions using diagram I here. Think of it like a rough sketch you make before class.
A diagram, like a mind map.
Could be. Or just a structured space to jot down initial concepts you expect to hear, terms you don't know, how different ideas might connect. It's a preliminary map before the lecture fills in the details.
Got it. Okay, moving to stage 2. In-class notes. Now this one sounded a bit weird to me. Allocate 80% attention to the teacher, only 20% to notes. How does that even work? You feel like you have to write everything down.
Right, it feels counterintuitive. But this is where the priming pays off big time.
Because you've already thought about it.
Exactly, because you've already engaged. Your attention is freed up. You're not frantically trying to capture every word. You're listening to understand, to connect ideas. The goal is concise, effective notes, ideally added directly onto that framework you prepared. They call it Diagram 2.
So Diagram 2 builds on Diagram 1.
Precisely. It's a more refined, detailed version incorporating what you're actually learning in class. But the most crucial part of in-class notes, according to this system,
What's that?
creating a list of active recall questions as you go.
Questions to ask yourself later.
Yes. Start simple, like definition questions, but then evolve them into more advanced ones. Things like, how does this connect to what we learned last week? Or, can I think of a real-world example of this? Or, why is this actually important?
So you're creating your future study prompts right there in class.
You got it. And the tip is to jot down basic forms quickly so you don't miss what the lecturer is saying, knowing you can refine the questions later.
Okay, makes sense. Then stage 3, post-class immediate review. We've all heard about the forgetting curve, right? Ebbinghaus. We forget stuff super fast.
Painfully fast, yeah. Ebbinghaus showed it, and modern neuroscience confirms it. We lose a huge chunk of new information very quickly if we don't reinforce it.
So how does this stage fight that?
The beauty here is timing. Just a focused review, maybe 30 minutes or so, ideally before sleep on the same day. That can significantly flatten that forgetting curve.
Before sleep? Why then?
Sleep plays a huge role in memory consolidation. Reviewing right before allows your brain to process and strengthen those connections overnight.
Cool. So what do you do in this review session?
You clean up your in-class notes, integrate key points onto your Diagram 2, and critically, you actually practice those active recall questions you wrote.
Out loud.
Out loud, or record yourself explaining them. The main goal here is immediate feedback for yourself. Build awareness of what you grasped easily and what's still shaky. This helps you target your future revision much more effectively. Use reflection prompts like, what was clearest, what's still fuzzy?
So you're catching the information just as it starts to fade.
Exactly, strengthening it before it really disappears.
Okay, brings us to the final stage, stage 4, revision. This sounds like where it all comes together for the long haul. It starts with refining something called Diagram 3.
Yeah, Diagram 3 is like your ultimate consolidated knowledge map for that topic.
What does that look like? Is it super detailed?
Actually, the opposite. It should be reorganized and simplified. Think highly condensed, visual, maybe a mind map, a flowchart, or a really tight bullet point structure that shows how all the core concepts link together. It's designed for your most efficient review, tailored to how you see the connections.
So it's your personalized cheat sheet, almost.
Kind of, but focused on understanding and connections, not just facts. Then the stage leans heavily on active recall applications to really lock that knowledge in.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, there's the blurting method.
Blurting.
Yeah, you read or listen to something, then close the book or turn off the video and just write down everything you can remember about it from scratch.
Okay.
Then you compare what you wrote to the original source and fill in any gaps or correct mistakes.
What does that achieve?
It's not just recalling facts. It forces you to actively reconstruct your understanding, which really exposes the gaps and strengthens those neural pathways. You're essentially building a richer mental model, one that's more robust under pressure, like in an exam. It also helps reduce interference between similar memories, making it easier to distinguish related but distinct concepts.
I can see that. What else?
Next up, the Feynman technique. This is a really powerful one Jun Yuh apparently championed.
Right, named after the physicist.
That's the one. It involves teaching the concept to someone else. And that someone could be, a rubber duck, your cat, your reflection.
Right.
The key is you have to simplify the complex ideas so much that, say, a fifth grader could understand them.
Why does that work?
Because that process of simplification ruthlessly reveals the gaps in your own understanding. Things you thought you knew but can't explain simply, that's where you need more work. It really forces higher order thinking, and it builds incredible confidence when you can actually do it.
Plus, I guess it prepares you for explaining things in the real world.
Absolutely. Think about presentations, client meetings. You often need to explain complex stuff to people who aren't experts. This is direct practice.
Makes sense. What about more traditional revision?
Then you have practice tests. But again, the emphasis is on how you use them. They're not just for checking answers.
Right.
The source outlines a specific process, like 7 steps. Put your notes away completely. Attempt the questions thoroughly, writing out your answers. For multiple choice, don't just pick the right answer. Explain why the wrong answers are wrong.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah, and struggle with the difficult problems before you peek at the solution. Really try to work through it. Then analyze your answer against the correct one and, crucially, the explanation provided.
Oh, it's about the struggle during retrieval.
Exactly. That deliberate, challenging retrieval practice, that's what leads to what they call durable learning. It feels harder in the moment, but it saves you time in the long run, especially for cumulative exams.
And getting past papers helps here too, I assume.
Definitely. The source highlights getting past papers and actually simulating exam conditions, the timing, the environment, what materials you're allowed. This does wonders for reducing test day anxiety.
Okay, one last thing for revision.
Yeah, just keeping a running list of additional questions, specifically targeting areas where you know you're consistently weak. It creates this personalized cheat sheet of your trouble spots, perfect for a quick review right before an exam.
Okay, that covers the 4 stages. But the source also mentioned other resources or strategies to optimize things, right? Let's talk about the revision timetable. That sounds potentially boring, but you said the science behind how to schedule is key.
Right. It's not just about blocking out time. First, you've got Parkinson's law. The idea that work expands to fill the time you give it.
Oh, yeah. Too true.
Timetables fight that. They also reduce decision fatigue. You don't waste mental energy deciding what to study next. You just do it. But the real magic is how you space things out.
Which brings us to spaced repetition.
Exactly. Based on Ebbinghaus's forgetting curve again, the core idea is desirable difficulty.
Desirable difficulty. Sounds like an oxymoron.
It does, but it means the harder your brain has to work to retrieve information, the stronger that memory becomes encoded. So you want to revise material just as you're starting to forget it.
Not too soon, not too late.
Precisely. You force your brain to work a bit harder, and that strengthens the memory for the long term. A practical schedule might be study today, review tomorrow, then maybe 5 days later, then 2 weeks, then a month, with less intensity needed each time.
Okay, I see. And linked to scheduling. Interleaving. What's that about? We usually study one topic until we feel we've mastered it, right? Blocked practice.
Yeah, that's block practice. Interleaving is the opposite. You mix multiple topics or subjects within a single study session.
How was mixing things up better?
Yeah, there was a really striking study, I think it was, with math problems. They compared interleaved practice against blocked practice. The interleaved group scored significantly higher on a later test, like over 30% higher, even a month later.
Wow.
It seems to enhance long-term retention because you're constantly having to retrieve different types of information or procedures. It also helps you learn to distinguish between similar concepts or problem types. because you see them side by side.
Ah, so you learn the differences better.
Yes, and it helps connect ideas across different topics.
Mm-hmm.
Crucially, it prepares you much better for exams, which often have mixed questions requiring you to pull knowledge from various areas, just like real-world problems do.
Okay, interleaving, not blocking. Got it. Now, breaks. It feels so counterintuitive, maybe even guilt-inducing, to take a break when you're swamped. But the source insists they're crucial.
Absolutely crucial. And it's not just about resting your eyes or getting a snack, though. That helps too. There are real neurological benefits.
Like what?
Breaks actually help facilitate memory consolidation. Your brain uses that downtime. Neurotransmitters like acetylcholine are involved,
What?
and there's neural replay happening during rest, especially during deep sleep, where the brain rehearses what it just learned.
So breaks aren't wasted time, they're learning time too.
In a sense, yes. They optimize how your neurons connect and make your actual study sessions significantly more effective. Skipping breaks doesn't make you a hero. It actually makes your learning less efficient and more prone to mistakes.
But is there a point where breaks become too much? Like, how do you avoid it just turning into procrastination?
That's a fair point. The key is strategic breaks. We're talking shorter, focused breaks, like the Pomodoro technique suggests, not, deciding to binge a whole TV series,
Mm-hmm.
which leads us nicely into procrastination itself.
Ah, yes, the universal struggle. We all know that feeling of putting things off. How does this system suggest tackling that?
Well, procrastination often comes from feeling overwhelmed or anxious about the task, right?
Totally.
So Jun Yuh, like many people, found simple tricks work best. There's the 5-minute rule. Just commit to working on the task for literally 5 minutes.
And that works.
Surprisingly often. Getting started is usually the hardest part. Once you're past that initial friction, those 5 minutes often turn into more.
Okay, break the inertia.
Exactly. Another classic is the Pomodoro technique. 25 minutes of focused work, then a 5-minute break. Repeat. The source also suggests that maybe a slightly longer block, like 45 minutes, might help some people achieve a deeper flow state where you get really absorbed.
Right, finding what works for you. Okay, what about when you just can't focus? You're sitting there trying, but your mind is everywhere else, staring blankly at the page.
Oh, we've all been there. For those moments, the source suggests the 321 method.
321.
Yeah, you literally count down. 3, 2, 1, go it.
Yeah.
And you immediately act on whatever you need to do.
Hmm.
It's about overriding that initial resistance, that mental block. Apparently, it's great for just getting out of bed in the morning, too.
I might try that.
Another big one is leveraging your peak productivity window.
Meaning.
Everyone has times of day when they naturally have more energy and focus. Maybe you're a morning person, maybe you peak in the afternoon. Identify your window.
And guard it fiercely.
Exactly. Reserve that time for your most demanding tasks, your deep work. Prepare for it. Eliminate distractions. Protect that time. Don't waste your best brain energy on emails or easy stuff.
Makes sense. But what about those days when motivation just feels gone?
Yeah.
Like completely absent. What do you do then?
Yeah, that's tough. There's a great quote from Mel Robbins mentioned. Never let your mood dictate what you do. You have to take action first because movement changes your mood.
So don't wait to feel motivated. Just act.
Pretty much. The key is building simple routines and reducing that initial friction we talked about,
Right.
like laying out your workout clothes the night before or having your study space ready to go, your textbook already open. These small things make starting easier. You create these consistent micro wins, and that builds momentum. You're not waiting for motivation. You're kind of generating it through action.
I like that. Okay, now the source had a really bold take on failure. It said something like, you're wrong, you messed up, you got rejected, good. That sounds harsh, but also intriguing.
It's definitely a reframing, isn't it? The idea isn't to celebrate messing up, obviously, but to see failure as a necessary, unavoidable step towards finding the right solution or approach.
So data gathering almost.
Exactly. It's an opportunity. What worked, what didn't. Failure gives you information to build upon your successes and, maybe more importantly, to rigorously improve your weaknesses. It's not the end of the road.
And seeking support is okay too.
Absolutely. The source stresses reaching out to friends, family, mentors when you hit those setbacks. The core belief is really powerful. The only time a failure actually becomes a defeat is if you give up.
That's a good perspective. Okay, one last common hurdle. Reading textbooks. It can be such a slog, right? Endlessly rereading pages and feeling like nothing is sinking in.
Oh yeah, textbook fatigue is real. The key insight here is that textbooks aren't always organized for your optimal learning journey. They lay things out Logically, maybe, but not necessarily in the best way for you to grasp it initially.
So what's the strategy?
Instead of reading linearly, cover to cover, skim first. Look for the relevant concepts, the main ideas, actively try to understand those.
And skip the rest for now.
Temporarily, yes. Once you've grasped the core concepts, then go back and revisit the sections you skipped. They'll likely make more sense in context.
And if you're still stuck,
Don't just keep rereading the same dense paragraphs. Seek alternative resources. Jump on YouTube, find a different explanation, maybe a simpler one. Getting another perspective can unlock understanding. It makes textbook work less of a chore and actually more efficient and, dare I say, enjoyable.
maybe. So we've really taken a deep dive here into the learning system. It seems like a really comprehensive approach, moving way beyond just passive studying.
Absolutely. It empowers you with these active, brain-optimized strategies, much like Jun Yuh figured out through their own trial and error, it seems.
And it's flexible, too.
That's a crucial point. This system isn't meant to be rigid. It's designed to be fully customizable. You can scale the intensity up or down based on how difficult or important a particular class is.
So you don't need to do every single step with maximum effort for every single topic.
Exactly. You wouldn't apply the same rigor to an easy elective as you would to, say, organic chemistry or advanced engineering. It adapts to your specific needs and the demands of the course.
Yeah, okay. So reflecting on all this, if learning really happens in your brain, not just on a piece of paper, and if your notes aren't meant to be a perfect transcript, but more like a tool for deeper engagement and recall, how might embracing these kinds of active, personalized learning strategies fundamentally change not just your grades, but your whole relationship with knowledge, your understanding, your ability to apply it, maybe even fostering a lifetime of, curiosity and growth beyond just passing exams?
Yeah.